Recorded live from Studio 12A in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Josh and Friends Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends Podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And joining me on today's program is the one and only Andy Matlock. And we're here to discuss a number of different subjects, including an upcoming festival of rock legends, a list of some of the biggest albums ever made that are celebrating 50 years, and a discussion of the greatest guitarists of all time. So let's get this party started and help me welcome back to the show. He's my brother, Mr. Andy Matlock. Andy, the promotions manager. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, dude?
How you doing?
Doing all right.
Well, welcome back to the show. And yeah, I should I call you Andy the promotions manager? Should I call you Andy the intern? Andy the intern kind of has a nice ring to it. No.
No, you have one intern, and her name is Jen.
No, that's true. That's true. So what? So is it you're my new promotions manager? My what do they call that? A social media
manager.
Ooh, I kind of like the ring of that. Yeah. So yeah, you've been.
Yeah, me of all people being the social media manager.
Right.
Yeah. Like, so I'm always posting stuff on online and.
Yeah. So you have a little hobby now. Tell me a little bit about how that came about. What you must have just saw you're like, wow, you don't have any followers. You just,
well, I just saw, like, it wasn't even about the followers. I think you posted like some video, and I knew you put in a ton of work to it, and I was just like, and I saw like there was like nobody like reacting to it. I'm like, really? Like, I mean, like I watch a bunch of videos and stuff, and it's like, I mean. It's your stuff. Most of it is just as good as anything else I've seen online. So I don't know. I just been going through some of your old videos and finding some of the shorter ones and just trying to post them just to try to get some views for you and try to get some.
You're actually getting some traction. I'm telling you, I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it at all.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I don't know. Listen, I'm so bad at self-promoting myself.
I am too. That's why it's easier to self-promote you. You're like,
yeah. I mean, I should be better at it. You know, I know people that are very good at that kind of thing, and I'm just like, if they want to watch, they'll watch. But that's not the case, really. It's you really got to be proactive when it comes to that kind of thing. I think.
And it's like, I know, like, you just kind of wanted to get, like, a lot of your friends' stories and stuff down, but it's like some of these other, but, like, there's clips and there's stuff from, that we could take that we, could, I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe I should just get some more eyeballs.
Maybe I should just get better at, asking people to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, so...
Yeah, or come up with stupider content, because that's what seems to get the most clicks and the
or just hot chicks. So just put a lot of hot chicks in my video.
Yeah, that too. That works too.
Because when people see my videos, they actually like them. They just but just don't subscribe. So
it's tough, dude. There's so much stuff to watch out there. It's like hard to get people's attention, but. I don't know.
I know that the actual podcast part does better than my videos. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So, So you recently started busting out some projects around the house. What have you been up to at Mom and Dad's house?
Scraping some of their popcorn ceilings off and, getting them out of the,
by the way,
60s, 70s, like.
When did popcorn ceiling become like a popular fad? Was that like a recent thing, or has that been around for a long time?
I think it's, probably 50s, 60s, like when they, were like, hey, this asbestos is gonna, I think it's a easy way. They don't have to like go and finish, do the drywall and like finish it down to a nice finish. They can kind of like just put it up there and tape it and then just shoot this popcorn texture on there and it covers everything. So you don't really see any imperfections in the ceiling. So it's actually good, for like, when you and back in the day, it was nice. It looked nice and it was brand new, but it's out of style and it's hard to clean. And every time you brush something up against the ceiling, like it just rains popcorn crap on it. It's just
oh god.
It's been due and just finally did. I guess I'm the painter, so I just did it. Just had to do it.
Right on.
So, yeah, nice. It's looking a lot better.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it looks pretty decent. Pretty decent. Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, now Andy, we have some stories to talk about today, and some more rock news. People like the rock talk, man. People love rock talk. So
I like rock talk.
Everyone loves rock talk, man. You could kind of. Everyone wants to have an opinion on rock, and it always seems to be like older rock. So we're gonna stick with it. We're gonna stick with the kind of like the older kind of rock. But you can always include like the newer rock if you're actually listening to new rock. But people might not know what you're talking about if you're noting new rock stars.
Yeah, like I'll be like, this is new, and I'll look at it and it's like 15 years old, and I'm like, shit, it's not new.
Yeah. Yeah, right, exactly. Welcome to getting older, buddy.
I know,
Welcome to
right?
Getting older. Yeah. So, did you hear about the latest rock concert, Power Trip?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a heavy metal festival that includes the bands Metallica, Ozzy Osbourne, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, and Tool.
Wow.
With other bands, too. So, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's like these big festivals where there's just like, there's one or two of those bands at each night.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I could ever...
They have that old Cella, like a few years ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
Old Cella? They have like Paul McCartney and Bob Dylan and like all these like older bands like Pink Floyd and all these. But I'm like, wow. But... Yeah, like a couple of these bands, they don't tour as much as they used to, like AC/DC or what?
Totally.
Ozzy. They're like, Ozzy was like, I'm done touring. They're like, Ozzy, you think you could maybe come back for this big one? He's like,
oh, yeah. I thought he was done. They're like, I said Black Sabbath was done.
He's back. Yeah. But Andy, I just saw. I was reading about this. Andy, can you take a guess on how much the tickets are for this right now as we are recording this on their website? If you do the register for the first access, how much do you think the tickets are starting for this festival?
For a 3-day pass?
I believe it is for a 3-day pass. So tickets starting at
$300.
$600 plus fees. And VIP tickets are starting at around $1,800 plus fees. So if you're rich and you're going to be in California on October 6th through the 8th, attend the show. Let me know how it goes.
Dude, I mean, the only way you could do a show like that is to be VIP. Like, can you imagine like spending 3 days like at a rock show? Like, I mean, one will take it out of me if I spend all day there. Like, I can't imagine. I
don't think I've ever gone to a 3-day festival. Like I've been to a day of a 3-day festival.
I've been to a massive long day, like Ozfest and stuff like that. Like
right,
but
yeah, no, I don't think I could handle it. Yeah, because like even after a day, you're like, all right. Did you see you saw the documentary of Woodstock '99 or whatever it was? You saw that, right?
I did not. I haven't.
Oh, you didn't see that?
Not the recent one. I've seen documentaries like about it and stuff, but I haven't.
Because they were talking about that, and they were like, "Yeah, after day one, you're like, oh god."
Oh, I bet.
Like, there's 2 more days of this,
dude. Like, yeah, when they talk about like Woodstock, everybody's like doing acid and stuff. I'm like, be done after like one day, man. Like,
you're like, oh.
It's all muddy everywhere.
I've seen almost all these bands. I've seen all these bands except for Iron Maiden. I've seen them all many, many years ago. So I don't think they're going to be any better.
Probably not
now than from when I saw. You know what I mean? Like,
probably not, unless you saw like a band that was younger back in the day. Like was just starting out. Like, maybe they'd be better.
No, it's not going to be. AC/DC. Even when I saw AC/DC, gosh, I had to be 2000 or 2001 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Johnson, I've heard him talk about how he does those shows, and he's just like, I can hardly sing, man. And my voice is all shot.
Yeah, the type of singing he does, like.
Oh God, it's brutal. I mean, it sounded brutal back when he recorded it in like the early '80s and stuff. You know,
I know.
Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. I thought, I thought long and hard about this the other day, and I used to say that, as far as concerts go.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like, what's the worst concert that you've ever been to? Like, there has to be like a worst concert. Like, if you think about all the bands that you've seen in concert, what's one that stands out? You're like, oh, this kind of sucks. Like I'll tell you. You want me to tell you mine? I'll tell you mine.
Give me a minute. Let me think here.
So for a while, I thought it was Sonic Youth, and only because I thought it was so boring. They were just sitting up there jamming, and I was like, I was like kind of excited. Like I've always heard these awesome things about Sonic Youth and stuff like that. I was like, all right, cool. So like we're like listening. I was like, this is boring. This is fucking boring. I was like, are you guys bored? Like, this kind of sucks. And I was like, It was kind of disappointing. But that's not the worst concert I've ever seen. The worst concert that I ever saw was the Smashing Pumpkins. And I'll tell you why. The Smashing Pumpkins, and I think it's probably more because of the time I saw them, like the era, like the point in time. The show I went to was the second to last show before they broke up. And
weird.
They had gone electronic, and it looked like they just kind of didn't want to be there.
Probably didn't.
It was also embarrassing for me because my buddy Kelly, who I was working with, I was doing radio and construction at the same time, and he was on the construction site, and it was his favorite band. It's his favorite band of all time, right? And I go, dude, I can get these tickets, man. So I requested tickets. I got the tickets. We went to the show. He's all stoked. We go in there and we're looking at each other like halfway through the show, or like, first couple songs. And I'm like, what the hell? What is this? What is this? You couldn't even tell what the songs were. It didn't even sound like the Smashing Pumpkins, right? So like, we're like, what is this shit? And the whole show was like that. The whole show. And I was like, what the fuck? This is terrible. And I was like, fuck, man, do I apologize? I'm like, it's not my fault.
Yeah, right.
Like, I didn't know it was going to happen like this.
Hey, of anybody, he should know. He should know what they're doing these days.
Oh,
yeah,
God, I just
saw they're doing a tour with Stone Temple Pilots.
Well, now I've heard them do stuff now.
And I think they're coming.
Stuff.
I think they're coming back around to like go, hey, let's make money.
Well,
right?
yeah.
Let's make some money.
Dude,
like,
yeah, no. Now I hear their stuff, and it's like, okay, it sounds like the old Smashing Pumpkins. They
took their time off. They did their experimental shit. Come back. It's time to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, they could rock. Like, come on.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I heard him on Stern the other day. Now, Andy, is there a concert that you, I don't know, maybe didn't hate, but like we're like, okay, that's not as good as I thought it was going to be? Or...
I mean. I usually, no. Short answer. I mean, I like live music. I usually have a good time when I'm at shows. Some are better than others.
Usually drunk.
Yeah.
Usually having a good time.
I like to have a good time. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe that Bad Company and Manson.
Well, that was only because they were actually okay. Like,
see, that was such a fun night. Like it didn't even. Yeah. It's like that's the kind of thing. Like if the show sucks like and you're
Steve
like,
Howe.
well, no, I don't know. Yeah.
It was like the lead singer after the Paul Rogers left, and it was like, oh, Steve Howe, this lead singer is.
Yeah,
there.
because I was like, I cannot believe that Bad Company's coming to Manson. And then I was
right. And I'm like, wait.
Called you, and you're like, yeah, it's probably not like the Bad Company. And I was like, oh, that makes every bit of sense now.
Exactly, and it was the other guy, and he's passed on since then. But so rest in peace, Steve.
Oh yeah, he did, huh?
Yeah, but this is another thing I was thinking about. Is there a band or group or some sort of music that you used to love like were majorly into that you're like, you hear it now and you're like, not as much into it as
I mean,
used to be.
There's probably a lot of bands like that. Like, I mean, a lot of like hip hop and stuff I used to listen to when I was younger. Or, I got a good one. How about like Limp Bizkit? Like, doesn't like they used to be like everybody, they were really huge, and like now you listen to it and feel like, oh, you listen to Limp Bizkit, but they're kind of making a comeback.
That's an easy go-to.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
no. I know it's just in my head. They're kind of making a comeback though. They're like they're starting to tour and like, but yeah.
Well, because everything comes back around, you know,
sure.
like even stuff that becomes like, not popular.
It becomes not popular, and then it starts making a resurgence again, right? Like,
right. I remember that was so fun too, because, you know, it was, you got to watch that documentary of Woodstock 99, because they talk about that. They're like, it's just so, everybody in that generation, like the guys and stuff, everyone was like so amped up and like, you know, and like, and dude, it was hard not to be, because like all that music was so rageful and, you know, like, you know.
Yeah, and like, I had gone through a breakup right when that record came out, and like that whole, like that Significant Other, the popular one, like and like that whole record was like him talking about his like ex-girlfriend, like, and I was just like, yeah, you know, like, so yeah, that's where I fit into that, you know, like.
Yeah, I kind of, that's the first thing I think of, but that's not the area. I still, because I'll listen to those songs, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could see. I don't hate those songs. I don't get into them as much as I used to. But I'll tell you what. Speaking of Smashing Pumpkins,
yes,
if I listen to the radio, like if I listen to one of my super mixes or whatever, or I listen to like Spotify playlist or something like that, and the Smashing Pumpkins come on, for some reason I fast forward now, and I don't know if it's overplay, or if it's Billy Corgan's voice.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't know, man. Like,
dude, he's got a massively whiny voice, you know, like
and it's funny because what's his name took a long time to get used to too. Neil Young, when I was like younger, I was like, why does he sing like this? It's weird. Yeah. Like it's a weird voice, but I don't know. I listen to Billy Corgan now, and even he was talking about how he even tried to sing kind of like weird because he didn't like his actual singing voice or something like that. Yeah. But I don't know. There's a couple songs that I can take, but I don't know. For the most part, I'm kind of like fast forwarding these, and I don't know. Like I liked them. I was never a massive like fan like some of my friends, but yeah, I liked some of their songs. But even those, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to the next song. I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I'm with you on that one. Like, it's like kind of like they're kind of born out of the grunge era, and then it just kind of got whinier and weirder, and then
very whiny.
Then electronic, like you were talking about, and then they disappeared. And
oh god, that tour! Oh my god, that was weird. Okay, all right. So the year is 2023, Andy. We are in 2023, and we're what 4 months into 2023?
It's already flying by, dude.
That's crazy. And I keep seeing all these articles, you know, that come up. This is like every year, but the articles about, let's take a look back in rock. And one that caught my attention, just because all these albums are turning 50 years old. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
50 years ago.
It's weird when I start seeing my, albums I grew up with that are like, hey, 25 years old, 30 years old. And I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah. So
how long ago?
50 years, Andy. 50 years. So 1973 is 50 years ago.
Okay.
So I put together a list of 15 classic albums that are turning the big 5-0.
All right.
And I just put these in basically in order of release of when they were released.
Of course.
Which is kind of funny because the first one on the list is Aerosmith, and Aerosmith's first album came out 50 years ago.
That's crazy.
On January 5th, 1973. And you know what's funny? Their first album had one of the first, it might have birthed the biggest, like power rock ballad with Dream On. That was their first album. It came out.
I always got that confused with like a Led Zeppelin song for like the first half of my life.
Well, yeah, because he sings like super high on that one.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah, it's crazy how high he sings.
Yeah,
but yeah,
great song.
Mama Kin and Dream On, and so I'm just going to kind of like mow through some of these here. So I remember I have 15 of these. So Pink Floyd, one of the biggest albums ever in history.
Sure.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Man.
And there's just tons of classics on that one with, Money and Time and
a bunch of other one-named songs.
Yeah, from back to back. It's just nuts. No, yeah, it's crazy. It's insane how good that album is. And it stayed on the charts for 600 weeks or something like that. Yeah. Something insane. But not to be outdone, Led Zeppelin came out with Houses of the Holy in 1973.
Which one was that?
So that's the one with the creepy kids crawling on the rocks.
I mean, which there was 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then then Houses of the Holy?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it was 5?
Yeah.
All right.
So this one has Over the Hills and Far Away. This one has The Ocean, which is a huge song.
Gotcha.
But it also has one of my favorite songs ever, which is the Rain Song. And the Rain Song it's just an album track, but Rolling Stone magazine ripped this album. They hated this album, and they hated my song, the Rain Song. They hated it.
How dare they?
It might be my favorite song by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
It's a long song, but it's awesome. It was actually meant to. I was just reading about this. It was actually meant to be an audio, just a instrumental. But they turned it into a full-fledged song with lyrics and all that good stuff. But David Bowie, Aladdin Sane on April 20th, 1973.
Good date.
The Gene Genie.
Gene Genie. Gene Genie.
Yeah, and then it has that iconic album cover. It might be his most famous album cover. The one where it's just like that, kind of like that pinkish, It's awesome. Yeah, it's probably the most famous album cover of his. Not his most famous album probably, but definitely his most famous album cover.
Okay.
The fifth album on the list is There Goes Ryman Simon, Paul Simon.
Ryman
1973.
Simon. I've never heard that album.
Yeah, well, you've heard the songs on it. So you've heard Kodachrome, Loves Me Like a Rock, St. Judy's Comet. Actually, what's funny? I didn't hear the entire album until a few years ago, and when I was deep diving on all these albums and stuff like that, and it's probably my favorite solo album by his. And I was like, man, this is really good.
Really,
this is a really good album. Yeah, and some of his stuff that people say that it's really good. I'm like, I don't know, not. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Paul? You like Paul Simon?
I mean, yeah.
It's like
it's easy to listen in.
Yeah, very
easy to listen to is more what I meant to say. But yeah,
right. Yeah, no, it's both.
yeah, right.
So here's
Paul's
one that
cool.
Dad was very fond of. So July 13th, 1973, Queen came out with their first album. And
that was a big one.
That came out. So the big one off that one was "Keep Yourself Alive." And I remember Dad saying that he heard that song. He's like, "It's one of the most powerful songs I ever heard."
Got to keep yourself alive.
Got to keep yourself alive. It's funny because they start with that, and then later in their career, Freddie Mercury was like, "Who wants to live forever?" I'm like, but I didn't read the guy that said "Keep yourself alive."
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, things change in life.
Yeah. Another one of Dad's old favorites, Tres Hombres, from July 26, 1973.
ZZ Top?
Yeah. ZZ Top.
Look at me.
Yep. LaGrange, Waiting for the Bus, Jesus Just Left Chicago. This is a huge album. That's a big one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then another big one. This is one of the greatest debut albums of all time.
Chicago.
It's not Chicago. Actually, they did come out with an album that year, but it's not Chicago. The name of the album is pronounced Leonard Skin Nerd.
Gotcha.
On August 13th, 1973. And, I mean, this is huge. Freebird, Simple Man, Give Me Three Steps.
Dude, those were
Tuesday's Gone.
Those are all on the first album?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably their best. I mean, they had a few really good albums, but that's crazy. Just awesome, man. I Ain't the One is on that album too. Yeah, it's huge. But as big as that album was, it's nowhere near as big as this next album was.
Oh, geez.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Oh.
By Elton John, October 5th, 1973. This was a double album. And to think that a double album sold over 20 million records worldwide is pretty wild. Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. What do you think of that song, Andy? It's a good one.
Probably my favorite Elton John song.
It's the most rockin' song by And Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Benny and the Jets, Candle in the Wind.
Sure.
Gray Seal. I love Gray Seal. Huge Gray Seal fan.
Okay.
Like we're going kind of like back and forth here. We're like, Paul Simon, Queen.
Yeah,
and it matches up here because the next album on the list, we're at number 10 already here.
All right.
Number 10 on the list is Montrose. Ooh. What do you think of Montrose?
Sammy Hagar, right?
Sammy Hagar. This one came out in October 17th, 1973, featuring Sammy Hagar on vocals, Ronnie Montrose on guitar.
What's a Montrose song that I know?
So Bad Motor Scooter and Rock Candy. Those are the ones that get played on the radio.
Okay.
And Rock the Nation is another one that may have heard, but those other two are the ones that get the rock radio play. But Ted Templeman, who went on to produce the first 6 Van Halen albums.
Damn.
He's the producer on this album. And this came out in 1973.
That's not like I mean, they must have all kind of known each other then, huh? Through. I mean, at least the producer knew who they were. Like, both of them.
Eddie Van Halen, he was very inspired by this band, which is funny because it had Sammy Hagar in it, right? He was very inspired by the music of this Montrose, and they later formed Van Halen, like, I don't know, months later, and then they ended up getting the same producer and ended up actually getting Sammy Hagar
That's crazy.
as the lead vocalist. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy. Makes sense, though. Small world, like you deal with people you know. So.
Yep. So,
crazy.
Yeah. So, number 11 on the list is The Who's Quadrophenia, which came out in October of that year.
Never even heard of that album.
It's another double album. It's a rock opera album. It's the songs that get played on the radio are Love, Rain Over Me. You'd know it if you heard it. It's a huge radio song.
I'm so terrible with like names
Only
of songs.
Love.
Sing them to me.
Yeah. And The Real Me, that one gets played on the radio sometimes too. But that came out. That was another pretty big album. Black Sabbath, Andy.
Yes.
Black Sabbath. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And we're already in November of 1973, and the title track on this album, that Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, it's one of my favorites by the band because it's weird. Like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of System of a Down. You know, like how they do they're like crazy hard, and then they'll go. And it's like, you're like,
yeah.
And it's like one of those like things that like messes with your head, and you're like, whoa, it's like so hard. And then it goes to like nice sweet music or like, reggae or something like that. And then it just goes boom, like right back to like, like whoa. And that's what this song does. It has like these acoustic like interludes.
Yeah.
Like that they do. And then it just goes, and then it goes, you're like, oh man, this is jerking with my emotions, man. But yeah. So it has that. I had to throw this album in there. Hall & Oates. Abandoned Luncheonette. So this is their second album, right? And this came out in November of 1973. Easily one of their best albums, but nobody heard this album when it came out, Andy. Nobody heard it.
Nobody?
It wasn't pretty much. It wasn't until they had their first hit in 1976, which is like 3 years later. Well, maybe like two and a half years later.
They had hits off their first album, right?
No, they didn't have any hits off their first album.
So they were kind of unknown for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
So they're still unknown, right? So this one has She's Gone. She's Gone!
Yep.
And it has When the Morning Comes and Lady Rain. Moderate fans, they don't even know what that is.
Sure.
But this album's like a really good album. Like if anybody listened to it now, you're like, well, this is actually a really good album. But it's just one of those things. Timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
Timing is everything.
Totally.
Couple more albums here. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, ELP, Brain Salad Surgery. from November 19th, 1973. This one has like the famous the Carnival 9, and 100% you don't know what that means or what that song is until I say what it should have been called.
Is that the
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then it has that other song. It's like Still You Turn Me On. Like that was a pretty big album, but
didn't they do the song like the beef commercial or something like that?
Oh yeah. They're huge in like the early 70s, man. They were a big band. They were one of Dad's favorites.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then last but certainly not least, you had Paul McCartney and Wings with Band on the Run.
Oh, man, yeah.
Released on December 5th, 1973. Huge album. Huge classic rock album that was just, I mean, everybody knows almost all these songs on this album. Jet, Band on the Run, Let Me Roll It. And this is kind of interesting. The song Helen Wheels. It's kind of a cool title, by the way. It's like the name of a lady, Helen, but it's like Hell on Wheels,
Gotcha. Helen Wheels?
But, yeah.
Gotcha.
But it
was just some lady in a wheelchair named Helen.
Yeah. That would have been awesome. It was like those like a video.
That's how those guys were. Like they were
right?
Always like taking stuff like directly out of their lives. Like
yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, so the American release had that song listed on the album, but it was not on the British version, the regular version of that. So, but yeah, one of the biggest classic rock albums in history.
Yeah.
But that brings me to another list that came out earlier this year, and it was a list from I guess a magazine called Total Guitar.
Total Guitar.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
And it had the list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time.
Oh man, that's so subjective.
It's so ridiculous. Like
it's so hard to.
It is so ridiculous.
Like 100 of them. Come on.
I'm going to tell you their list, but first, Andy, I want there's no wrong answers. Okay. So I took this quick survey from a bunch of friends and people that have been on the show and Dad. I got Dad too. I had Dad participate as well. And a lot of the people had at least two of these people on their list.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to tell you some of the results, but I want to hear who you think are maybe in like your top three. Who do you have like for your top three greatest guitarists of all time?
I don't know if I got.
And again, this is kind of your opinion, but like it was just kind of like I guess it was kind of like an online poll, but
I mean, I would have to go Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eddie Van Halen, Dimebag Darrell, Randy Rhoads.
Whoa! You're getting a little crazy now. You're up to four now. You're up to four.
Dude, there's more though. Like,
there's tons.
Dude, like Jimi Hendrix. Like, you want me to narrow it down to like an actual top three?
Yeah, top three.
It's got to be Stevie, Dimebag, and Van Halen, I guess.
All right. Okay. So I took a quick survey from some of the former past guests on the show here. Mm-hmm. And Rich Falls. Let's start with Rich Falls. Rich Falls had Jimmy, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Dimebag. Isn't that your three?
No, I I would definitely put Jimmy up there too, but like, I mean,
you had Eddie. You had Eddie.
I mean, if you're twisting arms, I gotta go with like guys I love, you know. Like,
okay, and then Toppy had Jimmy, Eddie, and Dave Mustaine, and he said just edging out Dimebag.
Okay,
which is an interesting one there.
It was interesting.
Apparently, Stace was sitting next to him, so Stace had Bonamassa, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Eddie Van Halen.
Okay. All right. She likes a little more bluesy.
Right. And Eric had Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page.
Let me guess, another Jimmy Eat World.
B.B. King.
Okay. Oh, okay. All
and
right, cool.
Santana for his honorable mention.
Oh, okay. All right. I'd throw Santana up there too. Like that. I mean, that was like, he made like a different like genre of music, like out of the guitar. Like,
yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sean Greenfield. Who do you think Sean Greenfield had up there?
Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen, number one. Jimi Hendrix / an honorable mention to Zakk Wylde.
Wow. Giving it
like
to Zakk, huh? I like it.
Ethan had Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, and Eddie Van Halen.
Okay.
John Rasich also had Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, and Jimmy Page with a runner-up of David Gilmour. There's only a few more of these, so hold on.
I'm interested.
You're liking this? I'm
in.
Lee Olson, the great Lee Olson, had Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And then, of course, I asked Dad for his top 3, and he gave me 6. Dad's top 6 are Chet Atkins, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Derek Trucks of the Allman Brothers and Tedeschi Trucks band, Gary Moore, Jimmy Page, and Toy Caldwell of Marshall Tucker Band.
Wow.
So, very eclectic choices there. So to get to my point here, there's a lot of the same kind of guys grouped up in the top. Yeah. You know,
I mean, those are a lot of the guys that are always talked about as being the greatest too. You know, like it's.
Yeah, and
I guess they were. You know, like.
Yeah, so I guess I would put, and I do have some reasonings for mine, but I guess I would put Jimi Hendrix for just the pure, like, insane, revolutionary stuff that he brought to the guitar. Even the greatest guitarists of the time were like, do I need to stop playing guitar? Because this is way crazier stuff than I've ever even imagined doing. And then I would put probably Jimmy Page just because of some of the awesome stuff that he was able to create and the songs that he was able to produce. Mm-hmm. And then I would also have to put Eddie Van Halen up there just because he was so innovative as well.
Incredible.
Yeah. and by the way, and he wrote great songs. So like I always kind of have to like do the combination of, are you technically great, are you innovative, and can you write great songs, right? Yeah. So that's kind of my reasoning. And again, everybody has their different kinds of reasonings, but can you guess who they had as the top 3? And I'll give you like the top 5 or whatever. But can you guess their top 3? And I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint real quick, Andy. This person, they're number 1 on nobody's list.
Oh God.
But I love him. I think he's amazing.
Jeff Beck.
It was not Jeff Beck, but Jeff Beck is fantastic. He's a fantastic guitarist. I'll tell you this, Andy. He was on the list of the albums that came out in 1973, 50 years ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. And Dad liked him, too.
Oh, really?
Yep. Do you want a hint?
Yeah.
Starts with a Q, the band.
Queen, and that would be...
Brian May.
Brian, thank you.
Brian May. Yep.
They put him number 1.
They had him number 1 over Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy Page.
He's definitely like up there, like as far as like
he's amazing.
But
amazing.
number 1.
They always got. Hey, look. When you have to do one of these lists and you want to get
you want to get traction. You want to get people talking about your list. You want. Like it's like people yelling at you is just as good as people like praising you when it comes to like online, crap,
definitely.
like being your social media manager.
And when's the last time you ever heard me talk about Guitar World?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So they had Eddie Van Halen at number 4, Eric Clapton at number 5.
Yeah, Clapton too, man. Yeah,
Gilmour at number 6. Richie Blackmore, number 7. Alex Lifeson, Rush at number 8. Jeff Beck at number 9. And Slash at number 10.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Like, no Stevies, no.
So I think that, it's funny because they had a list. If when you scroll on those websites, and then if you keep scrolling after it ends, then they're like, the greatest blues guitarist of all time.
Yeah.
And then they had him at number 1. I was like, all right, okay. All right. Yeah, so maybe they split these up. But I see some bluesy people on here. Like, there's bluesiest people on here. I don't know. They did have Lindsey Buckingham at number 22, and they had honorable mention Steve Lukather, who's one of the biggest session guys of all time, who's in Toto. Played on Michael Jackson's Beat It and all these.
Sure. Yeah.
But Howard Stern named his top 3 greatest as Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, and Van Halen. I think mine are kind of like the same 3, but just probably like mixed, like in different orders. But, it's funny. They found Brian May and they asked him to like, they're like, hey, Brian, can you like do like a little quick interview with us and explain how you feel about this list and being number 1? So I'll play that. I'm just going to play that clip and we'll come back to it here.
What's my reaction to being named Guitar World's greatest guitarist of all time? I take everything like that with a pinch of salt, really, because you can't say who's best. The nice thing about guitar playing is that everybody's different. You can't really rank people, Of course I got my favourites too. That's going to be the next question, I know. But the fact that people, put me in that position makes me smile. It's a lovely feeling. I'm not in the first million guitarists in the world. I know that. Not a chance. There's people I listen to every day who do things that I could never do. Nuno. I listen to Nuno Betancourt and I just smile because it's so beautiful and it's so way out of what I could ever do. It doesn't bother me because I don't feel in competition. I just love the guy and I love what he does. Same with Jeff Beck, same with Ed Van Halen. We worked together and it was the most wonderful experience. My jaw dropped every time he touched the strings, but it was just beautiful. So there are so many wonderful guitarists. Steve Vai is just colossal, beautiful. And of course I still have my old heroes. Eric Clapton is still my hero. Jimi Hendrix is still my hero, of course. It's always going to be that way. Jeff Beck, to me, is something so exceptional and outside anything you could have imagined.
So yeah, I don't know. What do you think of it? I'm kind of with Brian May on this one, where it's kind of ridiculous to have these lists because there's so many great guitarists out there, right?
Yeah, and like different styles and different different genres of music. It's like, where do you even? I mean, it's like, especially for me, like there's so like crazy metal guys and like,
right?
I mean, come on, like.
Well, I don't know. That's like saying like, who's the greatest painter of all time? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's very subjective.
Well, yeah, and so you have like Jeff Beck. He's recognized as one of the greatest guitarists of all time.
Right.
Especially to guitarists. Like guitarists are like, holy Jesus, you have no idea.
Yeah.
But Jeff Beck never really had a hit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like
so,
I know, like I'm like Jeff Beck, I'm like, okay, play with the Yardbirds. I'm like, the Yardbirds. Okay, who's like I'm like trying to like I'm digging. Like I know he played for a couple. I know he played for like a kind of like a super group type thing.
Guess who else was in the Yardbirds? Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page.
Oh, really? Holy crap! Wow. Yeah. What were they just like? What were they just sword fighting with their guitars?
Just like a rotation of all these guitarists. Like
That's so stupid. That's ridiculous.
And then they had at different times they were in the band. So like it started out with Eric Clapton.
Okay, I gotcha.
Steve Vai Another one of those guys that everyone talks about.
Yeah, like all those kind of
guitarists.
like Yngwie Malmsteen and all those like crazy shredders like
Joe Satriani.
These guys are always
yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
100%, exactly. So, it's funny because Sammy Hagar, I remember it might have been on Howard Stern or some other show he was on, and they asked him. They were like, so who's a better, of course he was like doing his whole chicken foot tour where he's like, out making press, junkets and stuff like that. And someone asked him, they go, who's a better guitarist, Eddie Van Halen or Joe Satriani? And I was like, what? Why would you even like ask that?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, Satriani is a better guitarist. The thing that is the difference is Eddie Van Halen can write songs.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
So like, technically,
yes.
I mean, Satriani could be a better guitarist, right? He could be a better guitar. Like that's like when Dad always sends me these videos of these super hot chicks with like their boobs out or something like that, and like they're just playing these like they're amazing guitarists.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So someone playing the drums or guitar, or whatever.
But what is what's the same thing you see with these? They're doing a cover, right?
Yeah.
They're not doing their own
they
song.
sat in their basement and cranked out somebody else's song for that long.
And think about this. You think of like how, not that it's easy because I could never do it. And these chicks, they got their own thing going on. They have millions of followers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking anything away from that. But
no, they're massively talented.
Yeah. Think of how much easier it would be to learn guitar now. You just watch these videos. All you got to do is watch these videos, and you're like, okay, I can do that. I could literally just watch people now instead of getting lessons from, guitarists coming over to your house. And that poor industry got killed off probably by YouTube, like many other, the plumbing industry. Oh, okay. Well, I just YouTube how to take my sink apart and blah, blah, blah.
I know. It's crazy.
But I think that's a great point though. That's why I was like thinking about that. I was like, wow, that kind of like does change my opinion on who the greatest guitarists are. If you're going to try to like somehow come up with some sort of way to distinguish the greatest guitarist of all time.
Yeah, because
who can do all the stuff, right?
Yeah, what are we talking? You have to like lay down parameters, like who's the most technically best, who's the most inventive, like I mean, come on, like there's.
Well, Jimi Hendrix like was insane for many reasons. First off, that guy was nuts. Like they didn't even make left-handed guitars. He'd literally had to restring his guitar and play it upside down.
Or he couldn't afford one.
Yeah. So it's just wild, man. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a interesting topic to speak about, like the top guitarists of all time. And by the way, such a these lists are ridiculous. I keep going over these. They keep sucking me in, Andy. But
I know.
I can't stop. I can't stop.
These lists are doing exactly what they want out of you.
Exactly.
They're getting you freaking riled up, and you want to respond to it. And
I can't stop. And you know what? I said this to Ethan last time. I'm here for it. I'm bring on the greatest drummers of all time. Here we go. Because I'm sure to be coming out in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be talking about it.
They're like Travis Barker, hands down.
Gosh. Yeah,
number one.
It's a fantastic drummer. Don't get me started. I'll start doing it right now. I'm like, oh well, you got John Bonham, you got Neil Peart. Oh yeah. Are there any? Is there anything else that you want to add to the greatest guitarists of all time list, Andy?
I got one more guy floating around my head. How about Mark Knopfler?
Oh, I love him.
Dude,
love him. Like Dire Straits action.
Like, da, da, da. It's like like real like metal, man. Like
Mark Knopfler was awesome, man.
So good, dude. Like,
the Sultans of Swing and Money for Nothing and awesome stuff. I love Mark. You know what the album Brothers in Arms from 1985 is one of the biggest selling albums in the history of UK, which is funny because it is a big hit here too. But it's one of the biggest albums of all time in the UK.
I was like, whoa, nuts.
Isn't that crazy? It's a huge album.
Are they from the UK?
I think so. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's funny because like some bands aren't as big in the UK. Yeah, and they're from the UK.
Sure, you get the David Hasselhoff effect, or you know,
there you go.
like
well, there's bands like that here too.
Or, I
would always bring up like bands like this is an obscure band for talking about America. But remember, I was on vacation with Ryan, and we were up there. God, it had to be 2006, and they kept playing this song. And it was like a really catchy, like, dance song.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I played this for you before, and it was like, I don't feel like dancing. And it has the lasers. And,
yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And like every time they played, everybody would just run up to the like dance floor, and I'm like, what is going on here in Canada? Like, what is this? So like, you know, back in the day, you didn't have like, you know, smartphones or I didn't. And so you didn't have the internet at your touch. So when I get home, and I was like, I got to look this up. And legit, that song was like #1, like everywhere, like almost in the world, except here.
Weird.
And they're from New York. I was like,
so
what is
weird.
this? What? I go, that is so weird. Yeah. So I always think that's always kind of strange, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird how things like, you know, hit in other parts of the world or or other parts of the country, you know, like you'll hear like, you know, we had like Sir Mix-a-Lot and like he didn't really get big.
Regional stuff,
you know, until like Baby Got Back or whatever, but like everybody knew him around here.
Yeah, and like I talk to people and they're like, yeah, he's like a one-hit wonder, and I'm like, what? He had like tons of hits. What are you talking about? Like, it's like tons of hits. Like,
and they're like, and then you like look it up and you're like, yeah, he had one hit.
You're like, oh, I guess. You're like, well, like on the rap charts, he'd have like, you know, these hits, but like pop hits, like, I guess it's Baby Got Back, I guess. Oh, interesting. Oh. All right, dude. Well, hey, you know what? We're recording on this new kind of format here, so we're gonna see how it goes. Hopefully, it looks okay. I can't tell. I mean, can you tell? I can't tell. You look the same to me. I don't know.
We'll see.
But we're gonna have to save some talk for next time.
All right.
And thanks again for coming on, buddy. Really appreciate it.
All right. I'll see you next time, buddy.
Oh, and Andy.
Oh.
Let's tell everybody to like, subscribe to my page if you haven't. If you just listen on, you know, the formats just on audio, just look up YouTube. Go to YouTube. Everybody has YouTube. Just go to YouTube, find my channel, subscribe to it. I'm just looking to get maybe 5 subscribers out of this. That's all I'm asking. Just 5, maybe?
Come on. Help me out. Okay? This is... You don't know how difficult it is.
I'm going to ask during this episode just to subscribe to my channel, like, comment. Who's your favorite guitarist? Come on. Who's your top 3? Who are your top 3 guitarists?
Give us something.
Anything. And we'll enjoy the banter, right?
Yeah.
I'll make sure to I'll make sure to respond.
Yeah.
Make it interactive, okay? All right. For my social media manager, Andy Matlock, I'm Josh. And as always, thank you for being a friend.
Excellent!